Hello all! Have you been waiting since the last LEGO Marvel game for more content? Well, don't worry, because that's exactly what this video is for. Much like my Injustice 3 pitch and Arkham game pitch, I will be pitching a game today. That game is LEGO Spider-Man. A lot of LEGO game fans and Marvel fans have asked TT Games for such a game, so I've decided to make this pitch. This game would line up in canon with the other two LEGO Marvel games, excluding LEGO Marvel Avengers, because that was based off the movies. And now for the groundwork. I'd be putting about as many characters as in LEGO DC supervillains in this game, so around 270-ish counting DLC. In terms of levels, I'll also do a comparable amount to that game, which means 15 main story chapters, and I'm adding one additional bonus level from DC Supervillains 5, making 6. Also 6 DLC levels. Now, the story. The opening cutscene would be Dr. Otto Octavius and the Jackal, working in an Oscorp laboratory. They are trying to work on some machines when they hear a bump on the ceiling. They assume it's Spider-Man, but then red, oily tendrils come from various sides of the room. Carnage steps in and declares that he wants a piece of the plan, and Doc Ock lies to him saying that he can help, but immediately shoves him in a large containment cell. Carnage screams out, and then we cut to the Spider-Men. Peter Parker and Miles Morales are swinging by Grand Central, which is currently held captive by Sandman, much like the first LEGO Marvel game. Peter comments on this, chuckling about it. Miles and Peter get inside, but are ambushed. Apparently, Sandman was not alone. He also has Vulture on his side. The player progresses with Miles and Peter to get to the two villains, then they have a boss fight, and Peter decides to let Miles handle the two. Peter, now across town, finds Venom, currently in an intense battle with Rhino and the Scorpion. Spider-Man is hesitant to help Venom, since everything we've seen from Venom in the LEGO games thus far has been evil, not his anti-hero state found in most comics and the movies, and Anti-Hero Squad. Peter sees, however, that Aunt May and other civilians will get hurt if he doesn't step in, so he decides to take care of it, and the player takes control of Venom and Peter. They fight off the villains, but Venom seems angry afterwards. Their eyes glow yellow and red, while their tongue glows an especially bright pink. Venom's spider emblem fades for a second or two as well. Peter tries to comment, but Venom swings away. For level 3, Peter, Miles, and Ben Reilly meet up at the raft, and the three of them get a level just walking through solving puzzles. Simple as that, not really enemies or anything. Then a cutscene plays where the three heroes try to interrogate Sandman, but no new information is gotten. Just then, Carnage arrives. He breaks out a bunch of villains, including Sandman, and now the Sinister Six have formed. Their roster for this game would be Sandman, Scorpion, Rhino, Vulture, Shocker, and Electro. The heroes then have to get out of the prison while fighting lesser-known rogues. I imagine this could have Easter eggs galore, like Big Wheel, or maybe even The Wall. However, when they get back outside, Carnage stands there, waiting to fight. However, in the actual fight, something seems off. Carnage seems weak. After the fight, it is revealed that this was not the original symbiote, and now not even bonded to anything, let alone Cletus Cassidy. This is just a clone. After this, Peter and Gwen go to investigate a secret lab found in the sewers by a construction company. They have a chase with the lizard and eventually find the lab. Connor's ramblings are much less coherent than normal, scrawled across the walls, and they speak of blood a lot. Spider-Man finds this odd, so he calls Morbius, who says he will investigate it at some point. Peter decides to try to track down Venom now, so he goes to the Daily Bugle without his costume. When he arrives, J. Jonah Jameson and Eddie Brock are there, and JJ asks Peter if he got any pictures of the raft incident. Peter says he didn't, and JJJ gets mad. Just then, Jackal jumps through the window and kidnaps Eddie. Peter tries to contact Miles, but no response, so he calls up the best Jackal expert there is, Kane. Kane and Spider-Man fight through a subway train with the Jackal, and ultimately catch up to him, who ultimately gets away. Cloak and Dagger show up, and the four of them have a brief fight against another fake Carnage, but this time much more powerful than before. Before level 6, a cutscene plays where the lab is shown again, but now with pictures of Carnom from Chronopolis all over. Carnage and Venom are separated from their hosts, and put separately from them. The actual level will show Morbius and Miles working together to track down whatever this quote-unquote blood is. At first, Miles assumes it's maybe Carnage, but Morbius dismisses this because this was written in a scientific context. However, they find Connors, and he tells them that Carnage is involved, but not because he is this quote-unquote blood. But then, a blowgun dart is in his neck, and he turns into the lizard again. Miles and Morbius fight him, and tell Peter to find Kraven. Peter says he can't do it, so he sends Kane and Gwen to trace Kraven. When they find him, Kraven and Mysterio reveal that they are in cahoots. Now the warehouse shifts to be wacky and weird. Much like Fear Toxin in the comics, and most notably for this context, the Arkham games, it shows their worst fears. Kane's is being a reject like he originally was, and he has to fight a bunch of random, just like spider-themed enemies. Probably a couple copies of Peter, Miles, Ben, and definitely the Jackal. And then Gwen's fear is her father learning that she is superpowered, so maybe have like a fight against some police officers or whatever. And they beat the villains at the end of the level. Now Peter and Ben, continue to track Eddie, but are distracted when a large goo monster breaks into Avengers Tower. Now these two have to fight the Avengers, as they are under the influence of the monster. The tower would of course have puzzles and enemies and whatnot, but when they get to the end, they see the monster. It is Riot. Peter and Ben try to fight Riot, but are overpowered. The symbiote tries to kill them, but then its eyes glow red and yellow, and it backs off, grabbing a certain machine. Peter is given an iron spider suit to help him track Eddie, and as a thank you for saving the Avengers from Riot. Peter and Ben continue on their quest, and find a big fight in the streets. Molten Man and Hydro Man are having a big fight over who can take Central Park when they split Manhattan. Molten Man is beaten, but Hydro Man short-circuits the Iron Spider suit. Ben Reilly still beats him, though. Next level, Peter and Miles try to track down the activity, and they go to Oscorp. Venom escapes containment and bonds to Peter. Green Goblin arrives and throws Spider-Man down the basement, just like in LEGO Marvel 1. In the basement, that's where Jackal and Doc Ock are. The two villains beat the heroes and send them back out. They activate a device on Carnage, and a black gas cloud rises through the vents in Oscorp. At this point in the game, the map changes. There are no more peaceful NPCs just walking around. Now every citizen of New York has been infected with a symbiote. Now, much like LEGO DC supervillains, you can rack up combos and a counter like the police tally, but now it's a red swirl to represent how the symbiote hive mind thinks of you. After a certain point of fighting the symbiotes, a symbiote boss would fight the players. These would be Scream, Lasher, Agony, Phage, Sleeper, Mayhem, Mania, Riot, and Scorn. And I think instead of unlocking those characters in a level, like is common in most LEGO games, after you beat their boss fight in the open world, that's when you would get their character. Now, level 10 begins with Spider-Man and Black Cat breaking back into Oscorp. And they save Eddie, since Doc Ock and Jackal are done with their work. Peter and Felicia even beat the Green Goblin together as a boss. Now, Miles, Peter, Ben, Kane, Eddie, with Venom again, Gwen, Felicia, and Nick Fury are on the helicarrier. Luckily, it is high enough in the sky that it is not affected by the symbiote issue. They get attacked by Riot, Lasher, Scream, Agony, and Phage, and it's a boss rush with all those symbiotes. Now, level 12 is another Oscorp level, but this time, for I think one of the first times in LEGO game history, you can choose what characters to play as, even without free play. You break into the lab and retrieve Carnage, and fight off Doc Ock and Jackal. Then a car chase happens, being chased by Symbiote Ghost Rider on the roads, and then Symbiote Iron Man in the sky. Then, on the helicarrier, you must fend off symbiote Nick Fury from Dr. Connors, who is trying to synthesize an anti-venom. Then, on the helicarrier, Peter and Anti-Venom now have to fight through a lot of evil S.H.I.E.L.D. But then, when everything seemed to be fine, a giant sword came crashing down to Earth, much like Kang's ship. This sword, however, belongs to Null. Null has appointed 4 symbiote generals throughout Manhattan, and you must go fight them. Peter and Venom go fight a symbiote Deadpool at X Mansion. Ben and Kane fight a symbiote Kingpin at Fisk Tower. Gwen and Miles fight a symbiote-covered duo of their fathers at the police station. And Felicia and Anti-Venom take on symbiote Hulk and Iron Man at Roxxon. Level 14 shows the sword sending out a distress signal and Null approaching the Earth. Morbius, Anti-Venom, and Miles will go to the Baxter Building. They have to fight through the building as many notable Marvel villains are attacking since they hope to find safe refuge from the symbiotes. The trio get Silver Surfer to take them to space and try to fight Null. This fails and they must go back to Earth. The final level is like the ending of LEGO Marvel 1, where different teams must work together to create a device. Team A, which is the returned Miles, Anti-Venom, and Morbius, are creating a machine in Central Park to save the city. Peter, Venom, Gwen, and Kane are trying to repel Null. Felicia, Ben, Lizard, and Fury go back to Oscorp and beat Jackal and Doc Ock. At the end, Null is repelled, New York is back to normal, and all the villains are back in custody. Now, the extra 6 levels. I don't really have too much of a plan for them. The biggest thing is that they would focus on the Sinister Six, and how Spider-Man and Venom would take them down. This would take place after the game's campaign. Now, the DLC levels would all focus on other Marvel characters dealing with the symbiotes. The first would be the Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to stop Null's sword before it reached Earth. Then, for the second, Daredevil and Luke Cage fighting symbiote Kingpin and Elektra before Ben and Kane clean it up in the main story. The third would be starring Doctor Doom, synthesizing a new symbiote, which would be, similarly to Karnam, an original creation, namely an anti-riot. The fourth would actually focus on Spider-Man 2099, working alongside Hulk 2099 to fight Venom 2099. This doesn't really have much to do with the main story, but I really wanted that included. And the fifth would be Venom after the game in San Francisco, dealing with Carnage, Shriek, and Doppelganger Spider-Man, and then getting Spider-Man's help. Somewhat based off the Maximum Carnage event. And then, finally, the sixth would focus on Doctor Strange and Spider-Man fighting Dormammu, who has Carnage working for him. A very loose adaptation of the 1994 cartoon. Now, the next section of the video will discuss characters that would be in the game. Obviously, characters in the story would be here. Well, playable in the story anyway. Those being Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Peter Parker himself. Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Miles Morales himself. Venom. Eddie Brock. Black Cat. Felicia Hardy. Anti-Venom. Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy. Morbius. Ben Reilly. Kane. Lizard, and Curt Connors. Then, there's some other characters who do matter to the plot, so they'd be there. Null. Riot. Carnage. And Cletus Cassidy, Green Goblin, and Norman Osborn, Sandman, Vulture, Rhino, Scorpion, Jackal, Doc Ock, Mysterio, Shocker, Electro, Kraven, Big Wheel, The Wall, Scream, Agony, Phage, Lasher, Mania, Scorn, Mayhem, Toxin, Hybrid, Mary Jane Watson, Aunt May, Captain Stacy, Officer Davis, J. Jonah Jameson, Karnam, Iron Man plus a symbiote variant, Hawkeye, Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, and a symbiote variant, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Deadpool, and a symbiote variant, Wolverine, Ant-Man Scott Lang, Wasp Hope, Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, Iron Spider, Symbiote Suit Spider-Man, Molten Man, Hydro Man, Ghost Rider with a symbiote variant, Kingpin and a symbiote variant, Silver Surfer, Cloak, and Dagger. And then I've got a couple other characters, well, more than a couple, but some other characters that should probably be there. Daredevil, Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Black Bolt, Medusa, Cyclops, Colossus, Magneto, Abomination, Red Hulk, Agent Venom, and Flash Thompson, Grendel, as in the symbiote dragon, Falcon, Prowler, Mr. Negative, Tinkerer, Hobgoblin, Menace, Grey Goblin, Hammerhead, Swarm, the Sin Eater, the Spot, Demogoblin, Silvermane, Tombstone, Beetle, Boomerang, Morlun, Juggernaut, Silver Sable, Jack-O-Lantern, Taskmaster, Carrion, Alistair Smythe, Stegron, Kangaroo, Spider-Girl, Anya Corazon, Silk, Miss Marvel, Yellow Jacket, Carlton Drake, Doctor Strange, Storm, Iceman, Baron Mordo, Sabretooth, Jean Grey, Namor the Submariner, Thanos, Loki, Ultron, Gambit, Blade, Sentry, Nightcrawler, Moon Knight, Shriek, Doppelganger Spider-Man, Silence, Hulkbuster, Steel Spider, Monster Ock, Red Goblin, Slide, Spider-Woman Jessica Drew, Madam Web, Old Lady, Kitty Pryde, The Ghost of Uncle Ben, Wreck-Rap, Dusk, Prodigy, Hornet, Ricochet, Cardiac, Raze, Misery, Lucian Crown, otherwise known as Milo, that's the villain in Morbius, Betty Brant, Robbie Robertson, Frederick Foswell, and Ned Leeds. I also included some alternate suits for Spider-Man and Venom, those being Superior Spider-Man, the Big Time Suit, Spider-Carnage, the Raimi suit plus a symbiote variant, the Mark Webb suit, MCU Iron Spider, Spider Armor Mark 1, the Anti-Ox suit, the Anti-Venom suit, Advanced Suit 2.0, Artificial Symbiote suit from the 2017 show, Chasm suit, Future Foundation suit, Captain Universe suit, Secret Wars suit, Venom movie suit, 90s cartoon shading, that's with red and blue, Unlimited Venom, Ultimate Venom, Raimi Venom, Venom Mac Gargan, Superior Venom, Spider Venom, and Spider's Shadow Venom. Now we have some alternate universe Spider-Men and Venoms that I want put in this game. 2099 Spider-Man and Venom 2099. Spider-Man Noir and Father Brock from the Venomverse. Spider-Ham and Pork Grind. Spider-Punk and Venom, bonded to Norman Osborn. Penny Parker and Addie Brock. Peter Parker, Lizard, and Gwenom. Web Slinger and Madam Brock. Peter Parquois and Black Fang, that's the 1602. Zombie Peter and Zombie Venom. Spider-Boy and Bizarnage from Amalgam Comics. Spider Punisher and Venom Punisher, because of course that needed to exist. Pater Patarker and Venomosaurus Rex. I think you could probably just reuse the models from Lego Jurassic World, I mean, whatever. And then Poison, which is Peter bonded to Venom in an alternate timeline. Next, the characters that would be included in the DLCs. For the Guardians DLC, Star-Lord, Drax, Gamora, Mantis, Nebula, Rocket, Groot, Ego, Yondu, Carnage Thanos from the TV show, and Venom Space Knight. In the Defenders DLC, you would have Daredevil Mustard Suit, Bullseye, Elektra, Symbiote Elektra, Purple Man, Echo, She-Hulk, Leapfrog, Stiltman, Misty Knight, and Kingpin from the Spider-Verse movies. Now in Doctor Doom's DLC, we'd have Doctor Doom, Doombot, Doombot Mark V, Anti-Riot, Herbie, MODOK, Kang, Blue Marvel, Union Jack, and Nova. For the 2099 DLC, we would have Doom 2099, Hulk 2099, A Public Eye Soldier, Lila, Electro 2099, Vulture 2099, Goblin 2099, Dr. Octopus 2099, Ghost Rider 2099, Scorpion 2099 from Shattered Dimensions, and finally, Carnage 2099. Then for the next DLC, we would have Eddie Brock's movie design, as in the Sony movies, Carnage, movie design, Anne Weighing, Shriek, movie design, Mrs. Chen from the movies, Dr. Kafka from the 1994 animated series, Dr. Dan Lewis from the Venom movies, Firestar, Deathlock, Nightwatch, and Ultimate Universe Carnage. And finally, for Doctor Strange's DLC, I'd only include 3 characters, because all the ones that I wanted to are already in the base game, so, that's what we got. Wong, Dormammu, and Carnage Dormammu. Simple as that. And finally, I hope you all enjoyed this random segment of just Spider-Man stuff. And just to let all of you know, I'm working on a couple other superhero projects. One for Marvel characters, a couple other DC stuff, and you'll just have to wait and see. That is if you made it this far in the video, because most people don't actually. So, see you next time!